First thing I'll do is I'll call the meeting to order officially and ask our district clerk to dispense with the meeting notice in accordance with open meeting rules.
Yes.
Thank you. Everyone, please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. First order of business is to approve minutes of the regular business meeting dated January 22nd, 2024. So I'll ask for a motion to waive the reading of those minutes. Thank you, Ms. Crutchell. Second. Thank you, Ms. Byrne. All in favor? Aye. And motion to approve the minutes of the regular business meeting dated January 22nd, 2024. Ms. Collins, thank you. Second. Ms. Crutchell. Thank you. All in favor? Those minutes are approved. So right now we will move on to our reports from the superintendent, Mr. Rendez.
Thank you, Mr. Bogus. At this time, I'd like to call up Dr. Hoffman and Mr. Frankel, who will present our January students of the month.
Good evening and welcome. I'd like to start off by introducing what our character trait for the month is. Learning Profiles principle. We act with integrity and honesty, with a strong sense of fairness and justice, and respect the dignity and rights of people everywhere. We take responsibility for our actions and their consequences. And now we have a list of students who have been nominated for this month's character trait. We'll start with our kindergartner, Pearl Halako, and Pearl is in Ms. Kolensky, Ms. Fides, Ms. Camden, and Ms. Diaz as well. So Pearl, come on. Pearl is a sweet girl who comes to school every day ready to learn. She is inquisitive and always takes pride in her work. Pearl is a responsible student and is open to new ways of approaching tasks she is given. She respects her peers' differences and is always willing to lend a helping hand. We are so proud of Pearl and all she has accomplished so far this year. Congratulations. Next is our first grader, Layla Rowan from Miss Wilcomb's class. Layla. Layla is well deserving of Student of the Month award for principal. She has a strong sense of who she is as a person and does not stray no matter the situation. Layla is a positive role model for other students on how to show respect and treat others. Layla works hard to make good choices and will take responsibility for her actions. She's always there to help a friend and give friendly reminders. I'm so proud of Layla and look forward to all of her progress this year. Congratulations. In second grade, from Mrs. Catalano's class, we have Liliana Nunez. Come on down. Liliana is doing an amazing job as a second grader here at Francis X. Henry. She is a bright, positive, and enthusiastic young lady. Liliana comes to school ready and willing to do her best each day and is great at contributing her thoughts and ideas and participating in lessons. Her love for reading and sharing what she has read is an inspiration to our class. She has been making big strides in class and treats everyone with respect. Liliana has formed strong friendships in her classroom, and she treats her friends fairly and is always honest. Her actions are those of a role model. Liliana displays so many amazing qualities, such as being strong, independent, and principled. She continuously makes great choices to enhance her learning. Liliana has a bright and exciting future ahead, and I'm proud to nominate her, Liliana, as for Student of the Month at Integrity Elementary School. In third grade, in Ms. Di Lorenzo in the Soracos class, we have Grayson Delmas. Come on, Grayson. And we give that big smile. It is a privilege to award this month's Student of the Month to Grayson Delmas. He represents the qualities of this month's learner profile and principal. Grayson is a hardworking student who takes responsibility for his actions and seeks to grow from his learning experiences. He comes to school with a smile each day and shows respect to his classmates. Grayson loves to participate in all of our class discussions and always shares his knowledge and ideas with others. He is caring, inclusive, and fair among his peers. Ms. Di Lorenzo and Ms. Sirocco are very proud of you, Grayson. Congratulations. And in fourth grade, in Mr. Hurd and Ms. Lavac's class, we have Anthony Alonso Contreras. Anthony is a kind and dedicated student. He is always someone who is an active participant in all classroom discussions. Anthony is also so kind and respectful when speaking to any of his teachers or classmates. He always acts with integrity and honesty. He is someone who we can rely on in the classroom to make the right choices. Anthony is a model student who consistently follows directions. He is a perfect choice for this month's Student of the Month because of all of his amazing qualities. We are so proud of the accomplishments that you have made this year and look forward to your continued success. Congratulations, Anthony. From Lincoln Orange Middle School, grade 5, Logan Klinger. The phrase, "don't call it a comeback," was once coined by explaining that he was always meant to shine. This couldn't be more true about fifth grade's principal student of the month, Logan Klinger. Logan's homework completion, his overall focus level, and the duration of time he dedicates to working independently has shown consistent improvement. His learning has reached new heights. Not only is Logan a skilled origami artist and an outstanding hockey player, he's an active member in our classroom that keeps going even when the going gets tough. Congratulations. We are so proud of you. Continued improvement. Congratulations. In grade 6, Tessa Antonetti. In the words of C.S. Lewis, integrity is doing the right thing even when no one is watching. Teachers and classmates can always rely on Tessa to be precisely following directions, completing classwork with excellence, asking questions when necessary, and sharing ideas in group discussions, while still being open to the ideas of others. Her participation in class discussion has been consistently increasing as the year goes on. She's extremely self-motivated to maintain outstanding success and seeks out challenges inside and outside of the classroom. In addition to being so diligent with academics, Tessa plays lacrosse, volleyball, and soccer. She plays the cello in the Loans Orchestra, and for the second year in a row, will perform in the Loans Theater production this year as an elegant in Finding Nemo Jr. The sixth grade team is so proud of her and looks forward to hearing of her continued success. Congratulations, Tessa. For seventh grade, Ashley Sanchez. Ashley is a conscientious student who puts forth a consistent effort on a daily basis. Ashley's assignments are completed on time, evidencing great care and effort. Ashley is focused, diligent in completing classwork, and works well with her classmates in collaborative groups. Ashley's behavior is exemplary as well, receiving 4 outstanding comments on her most recent report card. Ashley is a principled young lady who acts with integrity and honesty. She achieved a high honor roll for the first quarter of 7th grade and is on her way to do the same for the second quarter. Some of the comments on Ashley's report card include well-mannered and respectful, consistent effort and participation, and a pleasure to have in class. Congratulations, Ashley, on your well-deserved award, and keep up the great work. In 8th grade, Stephen Bella Alto. Stephen joined the Lincoln Lawrence family when he was in the 7th grade and is working towards the goal of bilingualism. The phrases advocates for himself, self-motivated, self-sufficient, and very responsible are often used to describe him. Stephen exemplifies principled behavior in both his academics and personal life. Stephen's unwavering commitment to ethical values sets him apart, earning the respect of his peers and teachers alike. Known for his hardworking nature, Stephen consistently puts forth diligent effort in his studies, demonstrating a strong work ethic that inspires those around him. His dedication to self-improvement is evident in the pursuit of his goals, whether in the classroom or outside of it. Overall, Stephen is a role model for his peers, showcasing integrity, diligence, and a passion for excellence. Congratulations, Stephen. We are very proud of you. Those of you who have received the award, please go to the back of the auditorium so that we can take a picture. Also, we'd like to thank the PATA for the little gift bag for the students. Congratulations.
So another big round of applause for our January students from up. Thank you again to the PTA for providing this great bags. And a big thank you to all of our teachers who came out this evening to support all of this. So a big round of applause for our teachers. So we're going to transition over to our next presentation for this evening. At this time, I'd like to call up our school business administrator, Mrs. Salvatore Miranda, who is going to be presenting on the tax cap calculation for the 2024-2025 budget. Mr. Miranda?
Thank you, Mr. Randazzo. Good evening, everyone. The next presentation is on our tax cap formula and how we arrive to the tax cap limit, what we're able to levy on. So this formula has been a standing formula for 20 years now. There hasn't been any changes to what's going on. We're going to wait a few more minutes for students to come on. Good evening once again. This presentation is going over our tax calculation for the 24-25 school year. This slide is about how the actual computation is made. The formula hasn't changed in years, so just going to move on. Okay, so this is the start of our calculation for the following school year. You see the current tax levy of 33.6 million on the top. It's adjusted by the tax base growth factor, which is minimal, and that's due to any changes in our base, any new additions to our properties. So that is minimal at this point in time. So you come up with a adjusted number. Then our pilots for last year are reduced from that adjusted number, giving a total number of 33.6 million prior to the exemptions for last year. We had debt service, including energy performance contract payments, and then that's offset by building aid. So that totals of 1.3 million, giving an adjusted prior year levy of 33.3 million rounded. So the probably most people know, it's in the paper, the allowable levy growth factor for this year is 2%. So that will bring us to 33.9 million. We back out our anticipated pilots for the 24-25 school year. And that brings us to 33.2 million. And then we have current year exclusions, of which one is the change in rate for TRS was actually over the 2% percentage points by, it was 2.1. So we have an exclusion of $2,700. And then we have our capital adjustments of 1.4 million, which once again represent our debt service less our building aid, which is 1.4 million. So our allowable tax levy for the 24-25 school year is 34.6 million. Versus our current levy of 33.7 rounded is a dollar increase of $963,000. That represents a 2.86% levy to levy increase. So what this is saying is we're allowed to, and that we're going to, increase our levy by $963,000 if that's what was determined for us to do. So I'm going to go to the bottom row. So in actuality, we're proposing a tax levy increase of 1.99%, which is obviously below that 2.86% number. And that represents an increase of $670,000 rounded. We're also proposing a budget for next year of $44.4 million. That represents a $1.1 million increase or 2.46%. It's very important to note, which is on this schedule, on the sheet, that right now the budget is not final. We're still negotiating with the governor our state aid numbers, plus we're still going through our budget numbers on a one-by-one basis. So once again, at this point in time, these numbers are not final numbers. So we had this slide last year, and I think it's important because, you know, we're all into this situation together. Our community, our teachers, the Board of Education, our students. So as we move forward, you know, it's important to know that once again, we're all working towards the same goal, and that's to give the best education to our students. Okay, some information, some important notes. Once again, our tax levy cap percentage is at 2.86%, or $963,000. Of above the current year's school tax levy. We are not proposing to levy to the max. We're proposing an increase of $670,000 or 1.99%. Our total budget, once again, is an increase of 2.46%, or a dollar increase at 1.1 million rounded. And once again, this is not a final number due to our state aid that being final at this point in time. Very important to know, we're projected to make $207,000 in foundation aid per the executive's budget, offset by cost-driven aids, which mean that in order to get the aid, we need to spend the money. So it's not as great as it seems when we look at our aid runs and factoring what it costs to get that aid. So in total, our executive budget is decreasing by $118,000 at this point in time. This budget does not include any cuts to school district staffing and programs. Very important to know this. Okay, how are we planning on moving forward with the life tax certiorari settlement agreement and working with our taxpayers to minimize the impact of that certiorari case? So we're going to apply reserves. We're going to use unassigned fund balance to help lower/offset the impacts of the tax levy increases due to that court settlement. Once again, this represents the 12th consecutive year that the school district has remained at or under the tax cap since the inception of the law. So this district, I'm only here a couple of years, but from the beginning of this tax cap formula, has made the point that they're not going to raise to the limit. In the beginning, most districts did, they need to, but here, through properly budgeting, through properly using undesignated fund balance, they were able to go below the cap and provide the necessary programs, which is the real important thing for our kids. So I'll turn over the remainder of this to Mr. Randazzo.
Thank you, Mr. Parambia. So as Mr. Parambia was just speaking about, included within this year's proposed executive budget is a cut to foundation. So I wanted to spend some time helping the board and the community understand what it is that the executive is proposing. So just a quick recap. The state budget process is constitutionally mandated, and we actually here in the state of New York use what's called an executive budget proposal, which means that the governor must put out a balanced budget, and then it is up to the state legislature, right, our Senate and our Assembly, to then approve that budget. So this is something that needs to be negotiated at the state level, and I just mentioned this the other night at the PTA meeting, but it's really important to point out that this is not finalized. This is the governor's proposal. That does not mean that this is the budget that is going to be put forward. There's going to be some time negotiating. But it is important to understand what it is exactly that the governor is proposing. It's been widely publicized that there's two parts to all this. The first is to apply a lower inflation adjustment rate than we've done in the past, and the second is to reduce safe harmless. So let's start off with the first piece of applying a lower inflation adjustment. The current law calls for the per pupil foundation amount to be increased by 4.1% this year, based on average monthly change in the Consumer Price Index, or CPI, over 2023. The governor's office is proposing to substitute an adjustment based on the average annual change in the CPI over the last 10 years, and to exclude the highest amount and the lowest amount, and actually lower that adjustment to 2.4% from 4.1%. So there's the first piece of how foundation aid is being cut across the state. The second piece is really what impacts our school district, and we're one of 54% of the school districts in the state that is going to be impacted by this part of the governor's proposal, and that is to end safe harmless. So what is safe harmless? Safe harmless has been around for about 4 decades, and essentially what it is that a school district can rely that they would never experience a reduction in aid over the prior year. So when you're creating your budget, which takes a few months to put together, our process here starts in October, you're pretty much guaranteed, or what you have been guaranteed for the last 4 years, is that you would never receive less aid than you did the year before. And now the governor is proposing to end this. And so what she is proposing is to reduce each affected district's safe harmless amount through a wealth-adjusted calculation. The maximum reduction would be 50%, and the minimum would be 9%. So half of the school districts across the state would have this reduction in aid. 54% of those would actually get the higher reduction of 50%, and Island Park is one of those districts. Again, that's all based upon a wealth-adjusted calculation. I'll show you what that amounts to for the district. So what you can see here is that last year, the district received $1.8 million in foundation aid. This year's the governor's proposal calls for $1.6 million in foundation aid, which would be a change of approximately $207,000 or 11.2%. The safe harmless amount total is $414,000. So what you can see here is that we are actually one of the districts that is being proposed for a 50% reduction of $207,000. And again, that's a wealth-adjusted formula. That's how the governor has come up with these numbers. I'll explain some of the data that they used to do that. So what does that mean for us? Right off the bat, that means that we would either need to offset this cut foundation aid by reducing the budget by half a percentage point, or increasing the levy by 0.6%. So here is the actual data that the governor's office is using with these proposals. And I want to first just start off by explaining that foundation aid in the current formula that is being used right now was actually introduced into law in 2007 under then Governor Spitzer. And since 2007, it has not been touched. So it's the same formula. It actually uses 2000 census data. So we know how much the landscape of New York has changed in the last 24 years. However, nevertheless, this is the formula that they use. And so I want to start off by taking a look at the 3 boxes highlighted in red that the governor is using. And again, this has been widely publicized. There was just a story in Newsday yesterday about this as well. So the first piece of information is to say, hey, across school districts across the state, especially on Long Island, there has been a reduction in the pupils that attend those school districts. So if you look in 2007, 2008, our weighted pupils were 851. And if you look at where we are now, 24, 25, that number is at 731. But what this doesn't account for is that obviously every school district has a different story. The bulk of the students that were lost here in Island Park was after 2012, 2013, which was following Superstorm Sandy. So that explains why you've seen that loss in the number of pupils since 2007, 2008. The other piece that you want to take note of is property wealth. As I said earlier, the governor's proposal looks to use an adjusted property wealth to explain why certain school districts are getting the 50% cut as opposed to the 9% cut. So if you look at where our property wealth was in 2007, 2008, that figure was at 2.3. It's currently 24, 25, 3.3. And you should know that the state average is just under 1%. So what that means is that according to the data that the state uses, Island Park is a wealthy district. And that's not my opinion, that is what the data says, and that's the data that the governor uses. And then if you look at, I'm sorry? No, it cannot be, but I just want to let you know that this entire presentation will go up on the superintendent's corner tomorrow morning. So if you just go to the district webpage and you go to the district information, go to superintendent's corner, this presentation will be there. Yeah, no problem. And then if you look at the next box loaded in red, that's our combined wealth ratio. Again, as I mentioned earlier, the state average is below 1%. If you look at where we were in 2007, 2008, our combined wealth ratio was 1.8. You can see that steadily declined. And now in 24, 25, it's 2.2. This is something that I've spoken about with our elected officials for quite some time. Our combined wealth ratio is inflated by the revenue that we receive from the power plant, which we all know is reducing over the glide path period with the tax certiorari settlement. So these numbers really need to be adjusted. Unfortunately, the state is just unwilling to do that at this point in time. And then I highlighted 2 boxes in green that I'd also like for us to take a look at. And that is factors that the governor's office is not looking at, meaning changing the demographics here in Island Park and then again across the state. So if we look at 2007, 2008, our free and reduced price lunch eligibility percentage was at about 24%. That number has now increased to 38%, 24 to 25. But again, that's not data that the governor's office is looking at. And then if you look at English language learners, so in 2007, 2008, you see a dash there. The reason why that dash is there because the state doesn't report anything under 30 pupils. So we had under 30 pupils in 2007, 2008, and currently we have 87 students. So we're not receiving our fair share of funding based on our free and reduced price lunch and also the cost to educate students who are acquiring the second. So the governor's proposal is really using faulty data. Again, it's not just impacting Highland Park, it's impacting many school districts across the state. So on January 17th, the day after the governor's proposed budget was released, on January 16th, I wrote a letter to Senator Canzonieri Fitzpatrick, our senator, and also to Assemblyman Brown, who is our New York State Assemblyman. And just about a week and a half ago, they set up a press conference, which was attended by many of the Nassau County school superintendents and our elected officials. I will tell you that both our senator and our state assemblymen are opposed to these cuts, as are the Assembly and the Senate in general, and they are really looking to get all of this funding restored. However, at this point in time, I can't tell you that we will get all the $207,000 that's being proposed back, but I do want you to know that our elected officials are really trying to restore this lost schooling. I also want to make sure that everyone is very much aware that there's opposition from everyone on this proposal, and I think it's really important to start with our Senate and our Assembly. As I said earlier, this is an executive budget proposal. It needs to be approved by the Senate and the Assembly. Both the Senate and the Assembly, bipartisan here, are against this cut. The New York State Council of School Superintendents is against it. The New York State School Boards Association, the Administrators Association, the Teachers Union, and the New York State PTA both put out messages that they are opposed to these cuts. I've gotten some information and some emails, some calls from parents about what it is that you can do to help with this. And what I'd like to just point out is that if you go to the school website, I put a box for news and announcements. You can see there's a box there that says make your voice heard, contact information for Governor Hochul and all elected officials. If you click on that box where it says read more, it'll take you to this page here. It'll give you an explanation of what the governor is proposing. At the very top is the letter that I wrote to Senator Canzonieri Fitzpatrick and also to Assemblyman Brown, and then what you can do. I've included a link there where you can send a message to the governor, where you can tell the governor you are opposed to these cuts. And then also you can also click on a box to send Assemblyman Brown and Senator Canzonieri Fitzpatrick a message as well. But again, I do want to stress that they are both opposed to these cuts, and they have been extremely supportive in trying to get this fee restored from the school district. So our school budget vote is going to take place on May 21st this year, Tuesday, May 21st. That's Super Tuesday. And I do want to just point out two important referendums that will be on this year, in addition to the school vote, school budget vote, and also the library budget vote as well. I want to start off by just highlighting some information that was in a Newsday article that was in yesterday, and how the governor is actually rationalizing some of these cuts. So this is from yesterday's Newsday article, student enrollment on Long Island fell 7% in a decade. And I just wanted to take one piece out from the article to help you understand how the governor has come up with this rationale. Hochul, who cited enrollment downturns in her plan, also has said school districts are sitting on hundreds of millions of dollars in reserve funds that could be tapped instead of hoarded to offset any state aid reductions. Her plan has met resistance from school districts and both Democratic and Republican lawmakers who say the cuts could mean teacher and staff layoffs. So I just want to go back earlier to what Mr. Parandia had mentioned in our budget presentation. Even though we're looking at a cut in foundation aid, our budget does not include any reductions in staffing or any cuts to any of our programs. So we're really proud about that. We're happy to announce that there will be no cut programming, no cut to our staff. However, I do want to just talk about the fact that the governor is mentioning that all school districts are sitting on millions of dollars in reserves. That's not the case here in Highland Park. And what's been inflating our number is actually a bill that the governor signed into law that we need your help with. So as part of our litigation with LICA, we were in a third-party beneficiary lawsuit with them, and they settled that lawsuit with the district back in 2022. And they are required to provide the school district with payments that we're using to offset the tax levy increases. So in order to create the LIPA tax surcharge reserve fund, we need a referendum and have voters approve that. The only money that can go into this reserve fund is the LIPA settlement payments. Again, that's the third-party beneficiary lawsuit into the school district. We cannot put any other money in there. This reserve fund will not increase the budget or place any additional financial burden on our taxpayers. In fact, the funds in this reserve will be used to lessen the impact of the LIPA Nassau County tax surcharge settlement agreement, and it will bring our reserves to the funding levels that they're supposed to be, which will obviously dismiss the governor's rationale that we're sitting on all this money. This money are payments that we're receiving from LIPA that we're using to reduce the burden on our Class 1 property owners and our families. The other referendum that will be up this year is a new 5-year high school tuition contract with Long Beach. Our contract expires on June 30th, 2024, and in order to have a new contract that's not a 1-year rollover, we have been negotiating a 5-year contract with Long Beach, so it'll be from 24 to 29. We do need voter approval for that. And I do want to let the community know that we were able to negotiate with Long Beach on a very fair high school tuition agreement. So just to put it in perspective for you, in the past, it cost about $20,000, a little over $20,000 to educate a student under the non-resident tuition fee associated with both paying Long Beach for each general education student. This year, that dollar amount based on an adjustment made to the formula by the state ed department is going to just north of $23,000. So as we go through our budget presentation, you'll see that there's a 10% increase in high school tuition costs for next year. But we do have a very fair agreement with Long Beach about educating our special education students. So right now, it actually costs, based on the Senator Falls formula, which creates the non-resident tuition rate, it costs over $90,000 to educate one student with special needs in Long Beach. However, our agreement that we were able to negotiate with that, we actually only paid 1.5% of the general education rate, which means on average we're paying about $40,000 as opposed to the almost $93,000 that the NRT rate would call for. So there are substantial savings there, and obviously you know that we're looking at a $207,000 cut in foundation aid, but Long Beach is actually looking at $4 million. So it's very important that we get this agreement in place for the next 5 years with some of the financial issues that Long Beach will be facing in the future. Again, that will be included as a referendum. So that concludes this part of our presentation, and now I'm going to get right into the superintendent's report. So as we do each February, Dr. Hoffman, Salentano, our assistant superintendent, and I will provide an instructional initiatives mid-year update to tell you where we are with our goal setting for the year. So our goals and our strategic objectives are all based on our 3-year strategic plan, which is coming to a close this year on June 30th, 2024. So the 3-year strategic plan defines the vision for the future and identifies the district goals and objectives, and it's really based on 4 pillars. That's access and equity, academic achievement for all students, 21st century learning, preparing all students for college and career. Pillar number 3 is engaging all stakeholders in the learning community, and goal number 4 is about social and emotional learning. So as I mentioned earlier, we're in year 3 of the plan's implementation, and we are on track to meet all of our strategic objectives. The planning process includes establishing the sequence in which those goals should be realized so that the district can reach the shared vision. We are in the final year of implementation process, so we have determined our strategic position. We prioritized our objectives, and now we're fully immersed in year 3 of the implementation phase. And later on in this presentation, I will share with you how we're starting to formulate the new 5-year strategic plan for the years 2024 and 2029. Tonight, we will provide an update on key initiatives and areas of instructional focus that are intended to advance the strategic plan, teaching, learning, and academic achievement for all students. The 5 key areas that we focus on are state standards, computer science and digital fluency, fostering curiosity, creativity, and a sense of agency in students, computer-based testing, or CBT, and belonging. Just as a reminder from our presentation of these instructional initiatives in September, Each area is aligned to an essential part of our strategic plan, which are innovation in teaching and learning, embracing diversity and inclusion, social and emotional learning, and strengthening our connections. As we update you on each of our initiatives, we provide you with a symbol to indicate where we are in this important work. And if you look up at the top left-hand corner, the red arrow will mean that strategic initiative is still in progress, and the green wheel is that is something that is continuous. So I'd like to start off by giving you an update on state standards. Our progress in supporting teachers with the implementation of state standards is well underway. We've had numerous professional learning days with Dr. Trish Scabuzzo-Desfani, who has been working with teachers K-8 on small group strategies to target skills that need more support, station teaching so that students are engaged physically in math class and have the autonomy with their learning, and modifying existing lessons to infuse a more inquiry-based approach. Teachers are implementing these strategies in the classrooms, and students are showing great gains in their knowledge of mathematics due to this targeted and personalized professional development. Our math curriculum committee is well underway as well, and we are in the process of reviewing several programs to determine which one would be the most appropriate and supportive of our growing mathematicians. Our K-4 science teachers have been working with our staff developer, Dr. Emily Pang, to implement approaches to science teaching aligned with all the new next generation learning standards. We will be piloting a new program in 24-25, Mystery Science, in the coming year, and Dr. Pang will continue to work with our teachers and administration to personalize the program for our students. Our middle school units are aligned to the new standards, and Dr. Pang supports our teachers in making the 3 dimensions of the new standards come alive for our students. In the world of social studies, our teachers have been hard at work developing civic-minded projects for students at each grade level, pre-K through grade 7, to support our middle school capstone project that all 8th grade students complete to earn a point for the seal of civic readiness. These projects will help our students to think about issues or problems in their own school, community, and foster a future global mindset, and also focus on social and emotional learning. Our elementary teachers are supported in ELA by Ms. Lauren Colbeck, who has been working with them on assessing student writing with rubrics and continuums that are embedded in units of study. Our middle school teachers have been actively engaged with the new writing assessment platform, Writing, and are using data gathered from that tool to target instruction for whole classes and individual students. Our pre-K teachers have worked closely with IDE Corps' Ms. Erica Scanlon, who has been providing professional learning around effective questioning and strategies to promote dialogue and peer-to-peer interactions with our youngest learners. We have also had robust professional development for our co-teaching teams through CBMI. Their work has resulted in stronger partnerships, which only serve to better support our students in our integrated co-teaching classrooms. They have provided actionable strategies that teaching teams have immediately implemented in the classroom with very positive results. In addition, we are currently exploring starting our very own SUNY Newport Science and Freedom micro-credentialing cohort to help us better align our current programs with the science. Next, I'm going to call up on Dr. Hoffman Sultani to give an update on our second instructional initiative.
Thank you, Mr. Randazzo and the Board of Education, to share our progress in our instructional initiatives. So our teachers have engaged in robust professional development led by administrators and teachers to learn about the 5 components of the new standards: networks and systems design, impacts of computing, computational thinking, digital literacy, and cybersecurity. And we've worked to examine how we're already implementing much of this in our own classrooms. Teachers learned how to incorporate key vocabulary from the standards into existing lessons, and which grade level each particular learning standard would be most appropriately introduced within a grade band. We're ready to move on to the next step, which is to formally write curriculum so that all teachers will have access to the standards, will have the chance to decide which grade level each standard will be addressed in, and to write activities that cover those standards in the classroom. While networks and systems design will largely be addressed in our computer and technology classes, the remainder of the standards will fit seamlessly into our subject areas at every grade level. Mr. Randazzo.
So our third instructional initiative focuses on fostering curiosity, creativity, and a sense of agency in our students. Our wildly important goals or WIGS initiative is usually successful as we come to the end of year 2. The initiative began last year with the introduction to our professional learning communities of the student-centered goal-setting approach that focuses on choosing 1 or 2 lofty goals that are deemed wildly important and then tracking progress using a compelling teacher-designed scoreboard. Our PLCs embrace this approach and use it to guide their alignment of their WIGs to the district of building WIGs. In year 2, we have successfully rolled this out to our students who have all set their own WIGs and are actively tracking their own progress. They're invested in their own learning journey, which makes them much more likely to work towards achieving their goals and then setting a new one. Please look out for our winter newsletter, which highlights our work around WIGs. And we just heard from the printer today. We should be receiving that on Thursday, correct, Mrs. Pastore? So you should have that in the mail sometime over the break. So please look out for that particular news story. Now I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Hawkins.
So with computer-based testing, we've spent the last 2 years preparing our teachers and students because we are implementing it in all grades 3 through 8 testing in ELA, mathematics, and science this spring. Our approach has been comprehensive, providing teachers with multiple in-service courses that were designed to prepare teachers to use tools such as test samplers provided by the New York State Education Department and our new online platform, DataMate, that is 98% aligned to the test format that students will experience this spring. Additionally, we've been creating tracking sheets for teachers to fill out to record students' exposure to the computer-based format and their ability to use the digital tools so that we can ensure that all of our students are set up for success. We had a hugely successful computer-based testing simulation this past January, and we're confident that our students are ready for this new testing format. Mr. Randazzo?
And finally, our 5th instructional initiative is all around belonging. So news reports continue to emphasize the effects of isolation during the pandemic and social media use and exposure on the mental health of our youth. We continue to work diligently to infuse social and emotional lessons into every aspect of our students' experiences in school. Our teachers and our mental health team regularly provide opportunities for students to strengthen peer relationships and to learn how to express themselves and manage their emotions. We continue with our Belonging Initiative, knowing that it is the foundation for student achievement, and have expanded our messaging to colorful and welcoming murals like the ones depicted here. And there's plenty more that are on the way. You can actually see up in the bottom left-hand corner, those are some of our middle school students who are working on one of those here at the elementary school. At the middle school. We have additional murals that are in process in both school buildings, and we will share the final products of these amazing pieces of art with the community in the coming weeks. Surveys will soon be released to our older students in grades 6 through 8, staff and families, so that we can gather feedback about social and emotional health. This continuous input will result in continuous growth and improvement. We're working on SEL workshops for our families, which we plan to roll out in the fall of 2024. And lastly, we are partnering with BOCES to conduct equity walks so that we can turn a critical eye to our school buildings to ensure that our message of belonging is clear for all and evident throughout our buildings. Upon our return from break, we will be delivering an e-newsletter via email blast and on social media, which will highlight the many programs and initiatives all around social and emotional learning. And as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, now that we are wrapping up our 3-year strategic plan, we are on to actually creating our new 5-year strategic plan. And currently, we are in that second phase there of gathering community input. And I'm happy to announce that as part of our 24-29 strategic plan, those 4 pillars that I spoke to you about earlier, those aren't going to change. Those are access and equity, academic achievement for all students, 21st century teaching and learning, community building, and also social and emotional learning. But what is going to be new is that as part of the 24-29 strategic plan, we're actually going to be developing a Highland Park Community School District learner profile. A learner profile is a framework that specifies the cognitive, personal, and interpersonal competencies that students should have when they exit our schools. Profiles are created with the input from faculty, staff, parents, guardians, and our community. These critical skills and attributes begin as early as pre-kindergarten and are built upon at every single grade level as students complete their education. The Island Park Learner Profile will inform future district programming and goal setting. So just this past week, we wrapped up our staff and faculty survey. I'm happy to let you know that we're actually going to deploy our survey with families tomorrow. But I think everyone got all of our messaging since schools are closed because of expected weather. That will be deployed to our families tomorrow, and we want to hear from you. We're asking for your input. So that burner profile survey will go out to families in the morning of Valentine's Day, which is February 14th. I'm going to ask, there'll be a letter that's going along with that survey, and I'm just going to ask that everyone please take a moment. It is a fairly brief survey. It will only take you a couple of minutes, but we do value your input. So if you could please complete that survey and get it back to us by Friday, March 1st, so that we can then look at all that data with our community-based analysis. I did also want to provide a few important updates this evening. So we just completed our pre-K registration for the 24-25 school year. We had 57 children registered from February 6th to the 8th. We have 60 open spots available for our pre-K program. So the good news is there's no lottery tonight. Every child that registered, all 57, are actually being admitted to the program. They'll be getting letters home tomorrow. All those families will be notified. And there are 3 remaining spots that are still available. We'll have a second registration on March 20th, 2024. So then I get this question often, so I just want to make sure that we explain that now. If on March 20th, we have 10 families that put in for the 3 open spots, at that point there will be a lottery to fill the remaining 3 spots, and then everyone will go on the wait list. But for the 57 families that registered between February 6th and 8th, we're happy to announce there's no stress tonight, no lottery. All 57 students are registered for the program, and letters will be going on tomorrow. Also this evening, the board will be adopting a resolution regarding program fees for our 2024 summer experience for our recreation program. Our recreation program this year will run from Monday, July 8th, 2024 through Wednesday, August 7th, 2024. So that's 23 days as we've had each year. General registration begins on March 4th, 2024. And I'm very happy to announce that although we've had to increase those rates the last 2 school years, this year there is no rate increase. So all those rates are flat and they're the same rates that they were for 2023. At this time, I'd like to call back up Mr. Carandia, who's going to give the board and the community an update on a new investment opportunity for New York class. Thank you, Mr. Carandia.
Thank you, Mr. Randazzo. With the resignation of our previous treasurer, I was exploring alternate vehicles to invest our available funds in. One of the vehicles was I-Class. So I went to Mr. Randazzo and I presented this vehicle to him. So what is I-Class? I-Class stands for the New York Cooperative Liquid Assets Security System, which is a short-term liquid investment fund designed specifically for the public sector. I-Class provides the opportunity to invest funds on a cooperative basis in the short-term investments that are carefully chosen, such as T-bills, T-notes, repos, and bank deposits. What are some of the features of I-Class? Same-day liquidity. So this is a very important and great vehicle to use for that specific purpose. On any given day, if I know that we're going to have appropriations that need to be paid, I can move them on that specific day and cover those bills in our general fund, which is held in another bank. That's important. Those funds continue to earn a dividend rate on a daily basis until I need to pay our bills through the district. It provides secure online transactions. Once again, competitive daily yields, which I'll get into. There's no minimum investment amount, no transaction fees, and once again, the dividends are applied on a daily basis. Who oversees and manages New York Class? In accordance with the New York State General Municipal Law, GML, the Municipal Cooperation Agreement is administered by an elected governing board of up to 15 members. A board member must be either a participant's chief fiscal officer, another designated officer, or an employee of the participant who has knowledge and expertise in financial matters, which is very important so that this board is consistent of people in the business. There are many assistant soups for business on the board, also some other people from the private sector on this board that are overseeing the investments. There are approximately 65 school districts that participate in class throughout Nassau and Suffolk County. Not to mention other municipalities, water districts that also participate in this investment field. So here are the daily, the month-end yields from August through January. You see from August through January, once again, they get around 5.2%, which today, although seems on the low side, actually, if you have your savings in a regular savings account, you're not getting 5.2%. So this is, for now, a great deal, a great rate that once again we receive dividends on a daily basis. So just some comparisons. So for 1 month, if you invested $10 million through my class, you receive $45,000. For 6 months, $265,000, and for a year, $501,000. So we currently have invested $18.7 million with a dividend rate of 5.2%. Our January monthly income is $70,000. If we were to maintain that balance for our whole year, which we can't, because once again we have bills to pay on a monthly basis, we would receive approximately $800,000. Last year, for the total school year, our investment income was $286,000. So, based on that difference, once again, if we kept that balance in for a year at the current rates, our increase on our revenue for our interest income would be $500,000. And obviously, this would be great help to offset our levy/budget increases. Our rate's going to continue to go up or stay the same. Probably not, right? We're here in the paper, the Fed, is looking to reduce rates, but that's down the road. But still, even if they do reduce rates, the rates we're getting through my class is a lot better than keeping our money in the general fund. That's it.
So thank you to Mr. Carambi, and thank you to Dr. Hoffman and Saltano for sustaining those reports. And that concludes my report.
Okay, so thank you, first of all, to Mr. Randazzo, and also to Mr. Carambi, and also Dr. Hoffman Saltano for those reports and all the information, which is very important for us to digest in order to make the decisions we need to make regarding our budget and going forward, educating our children. So thank you again. We'll move along with our meeting. So we've concluded with the reports from the superintendent. Our first publicly heard session is now open. This is regarding any recommended motions on the agenda. We're going to ask Ms. McDonough,
Yes.
read our guidelines.
Our board policy was established on October 18th, 2021. This goes for our first public session being heard, which regards to all judgment for agenda items. The Board of Education encourages public participation on school-related matters at board meetings as outlined in this policy. Members of the public may address the Board of Education on any specific agenda item during the public being heard that is prior to the board discussion and action. The public may also address the Board of Education at a second public being heard session after the Board of Education completes agenda action items. Members of the public are precluded from speaking on any agenda item more than once during each meeting. Questions or comments from the public concerning matters which are not on the agenda will be taken under consideration and referred to the appropriate district school officials for future appropriate action or response. Persons wishing to address the board shall advise the board president in writing. The request shall be made in writing prior to the start of the meeting on a form provided by the district. It's in the back of the room. For purposes of following up with the speakers later, the speaker will be asked to include his or her name, address, and email address if available on the form. Speakers should be as brief as possible, but in no event longer than 3 minutes. Each public comment session will be limited to 20 minutes. The board will not permit in public session any discussion involving individual district personnel or students. Persons wishing to discuss matters involving individual district personnel or students shall present their comments and or concerns to district school officials by telephone, in writing, or by scheduling a personal meeting. All speakers are to conduct themselves in a civil manner. Obscene language, libelous statements, threats of violence, statements advocating racial, religious, or other forms of prejudice will not be tolerated. All speakers will address remarks to the president and may direct questions or comments to board members or other district officials only upon the approval of the president. Board members and the superintendent have the privilege of asking questions of any person who addresses the board. The president of the board shall be responsible for the orderly conduct of the meeting and shall rule on such matters at this time to be allowed for public discussion and the appropriateness of the subject being presented, as outlined in the policy and applicable of provisions of law and regulation, and subject to the board's preliminary procedure. The president shall have the right to prevent any speaker from continuing his or her comments if such comments violate this policy. Again, this portion of the meeting is only with regards to agenda items.
Thank you again, Vice President McDonough. And in accordance with those guidelines and rules, Ms. Pescari, is anyone signed in to make any comments on any agenda items?
Sure.
Okay, Mr. Sher.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I noticed on the agenda is resignation of the school nurse. So I want to comment on that topic. And I really want to stress, once again, the importance of the school nurse position. When my son was attending Haggerty Elementary School, like many children, he had some social issues. The nurse at that time, Mrs. Gould, was unbelievably instrumental in helping my son and my wife and myself and cope with elementary school. I gotta say, about every year. She helped him off the bus. She just about every day had him in her office. She interacted with his teachers. She called us. Often we had complete trust in her. We developed a relationship with her. I have to say that the school nurse, especially at the elementary level, I think is one of the most important positions that you can have at the school. So I sympathize now with parents who are sending their children to Hagerty without the benefit of a full-time nurse. I can imagine that some of their children suffer some similar social issues like my son did as well, and they don't have that support anymore. And it's clearly a problem that we cannot retain a school nurse. And it's many people have commented who are familiar with this position, who are nurses themselves, that the salary offered is meager and not competitive. Maybe it's competitive with other schools, but it's not competitive in the business. Nurses can command a lot more than that. So I would urge this board, we have one elementary school. You can raise the salary substantially to attract a full-time nurse to provide the support to the children that are there, which is vital in my personal opinion, based upon my personal experience. And I think you should do that immediately. Do whatever else you can offer as far as benefit-wise in order to attract a permanent school nurse that will stay. I would urge you to do that, and I know you can do it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Castori, anyone else?
No, that's it.
That's it? Okay. We will move on to our recommended motions, which are associated with agenda items 5.3 through 5.22. Do I have a motion to waive the reading of the motions associated with agenda items 5.3 to 5.22?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. McDonough. Thank you, Ms. Control. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve those associated with agenda items 5.3 through 5.22.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Collins. Ms. Byrne, second. All in favor? Aye. Those motions are approved. All right, so now we are at publicly heard session 2, where we open the floor to any issues that are not on the agenda. Ms. Pastori, anyone signed in for that? Mr. Sherman.
Okay. Round 2. I want everyone to know that I sent you on Thursday an email with the subject of the question that I'm going to ask you. It's in fact a specific question that I was going to ask you in the hopes that you'd be prepared to answer. And I'll just summarize what it was. So I wasn't able to attend the last board meeting where you read the letters from the library board to the school district and your response. But it's very distressing as a community member to see the school district and the library fighting over the scraps of the settlement. It's unbecoming. The library is part of the school district. In fact, many people don't know this, but the school district owns the library book and collects the taxes, which is paid to the library. So it's like a little sister, if you want to say. So it's very distressing to see, this going on. So I got to say, the library board members and their director came to a civic association meeting and explained that position to us, and answered all of our questions. Didn't limit them, didn't tell us that they couldn't answer. They stated their position, they answered our questions fully. And from what I understand, this is the story. And I was present for a lot of this as well, as you know. So there are pilot payments in the past that some of the monies went directly to the library. That's a past practice, my understanding. And my understanding is there was some direction that was provided to the school district with respect to some of those pilot payments. And there were others that didn't. So this is past practice. So the library director spoke multiple times at the Nassau County legislative meetings and made it clear that she requested that similar instructions be given with respect to the changes that were being made to the Barrett plan. And I was there, you were there, Jack, you were there, Mr. McDowell, other people were there. It was clear what she was doing. She was trying to make sure that the library got some sort of direct payment from the settlement agreement. So we knew what she was doing. She supported us, we supported her, we worked with her for a very long time, okay? Evidently, it didn't get done. The legislature screwed up. The Nassau County legislature, the majority, listened to her, said they would take care of it, and they screwed up. They messed up. The provision wasn't made. The direction wasn't given to the school district with respect to the monies that would go to the library. So what happened was the library for the past 2 years has budgeted. Yeah, I would ask you to allow me to finish.
If you could sum it up quickly.
It's extremely important. So
It was extremely important when we did it last week also, so if you could just sum it up quickly.
well, they explained to me, and I saw it. They budgeted with the expectation that they were going to get that money. Okay, whether that was a good decision or not, I don't know. But they did that, and you knew it, and you knew they were doing it, and the county screwed up, and they're not getting those monies right now. And they have holes in their budget, I believe they do, because of this. They had many things that they were going to do that they're questioning whether they can do, because you're not giving them the money. They found a mediator to sit down with you to resolve it, and you refused. It wasn't even going to be at any cost. And they obviously don't have the money to litigate. All right? And my question to you,
If I can interrupt you for a second.
Yeah.
You basically read just now, in 3 minutes, and summarized their letter to us, and paraphrased what you perceive as our response to it. I'm going to ask Ms. McDonough to read the response and explain our position, which is based on a legal opinion from our counsel.
that's fine.
No,
That's
what we're going to do.
Well, I'd like to ask my question.
But your time
Leading up to
is
my
up.
question, I'd like to ask my question before you read that. So my question to you was, and I sent it to you on Thursday, and remains, what will it take? What are you looking for from the county as far as direction with respect to making that payment to the library? What exactly is missing, in your opinion, from the settlement agreement or the other legal documents that is necessary in order to make that payment? And if the library gets that done, I would hope that you would not oppose that. But,
Okay, so once again, just to point out, we do not own the library. Our taxes are separate from the taxes that they receive.
so you don't own
So
the
we
library?
own the library building.
Yes.
We don't have the budget and we don't tax the library. That's a separate entity. We are not responsible for receiving the taxes.
That's not what I said.
So when you said we own
I said you own the library.
So we're not our sisters, it's separate entities. So, back on January 22nd, we responded to the library based on our counsel, and I will read for the community what our letter states if you didn't receive it or you're unfamiliar with it. We have taken an oath as trustees to uphold the law. We have consulted with and followed our general counsel and special tax counsel that we hired as well. Advice that doing what you would ask to constitute an unconstitutional gift of public funds because the settlement agreement authorizes payment only to the school district and not the library. As a result, we were disappointed that the library continues to pursue a portion of the draft assessment. In addition, and as we believe that they are aware, the library director stated on April 25th, 2022, in Nassau County's legislative public hearing, which you can go to, it's 3 hours and 25 minutes into the recording, that the library needed the settlement delayed and amended to explicitly state that it would obtain a share of the school district's direct assessment appropriation. This request was confirmed that the library knew that it was not legally entitled to any portion of the payment. It was rejected by the legislature when it then voted to approve the settlement without change. As the library directed or also stated, you must be conscious decision not to join in that litigation, which lasted several years. The stipulation settling the legislative specifically says that there will be no third-party beneficiaries other than National Grid. Moreover, as you know, the library's proposed 2022-2023 budget totaled $1,541,125. Of that amount, your proposed tax levy of $1,429,064 was approved by the voters and fully paid by the district. Therefore, we are puzzled why you would imply that you need more money this year, especially when our budget does not include any anticipated revenue, any allocation of direct assessment payments. Likewise, while not a legal issue, we do not understand your statement that without a share of the school district's direct assessment, your 2024-2025 budget will require a significant tax increase on operational reductions. The status quo 2024-2025 library budget would seemingly require approximately the same tax levy as that authorized by the voters of 2023 to 2024, even without appropriating funds from the $72,980 fund balance set forth in your 2023-2024 budget statement. Furthermore, it was suggested that it was merely a discussion about relocating community resources. Doing as you request would immediately create a $537,081.40 hole in the 2023-2024 school budget for us, and would ironically require the Board of Education to subsequently raise taxes or significantly curtail operations in order to fill the resulting budgetary shortfall in subsequent years. This is because the school district, unlike the library, has in fact relied upon and will be relying upon those payments in order to balance its budget, as was the intent of those payments having been allocated to the school district as part of the LIPA settlement. For these reasons, we would like to emphasize our position is a matter of law and allocating of public funds and not something that can be settled as a neighbor to neighbor, as you suggest. The gravity of this legal implications requires a thorough and principled approach, ensuring compliance with the law, while safeguarding public resources explicitly allocating to the school district for the purpose of public education. We stand by this statement as a board as it's entered into.
Thank you. Can you answer my question?
We did.
No.
You might not.
My question was, what would it take as far as an amendment of the settlement agreement for the district to make this payment to the library? What would it take?
We don't have an answer to that.
Would you support an amendment of the settlement agreement to make the direct payment to the library? Would you support that?
Any public funds that were not taken from the schools?
So your answer is no. You're saying no. That wasn't my question. My question was, I'm not asking, the amount of money that's been appropriated to the school district. Would you? So your answer is no.
Your time is up.
You're
not letting me respond. You want to
No, you answered my question.
I'm stopping you. Your time is up.
It's a very sad thing that we went through this for many, many years, and we saw the library director make this play, and the county screwed up, and the district is taking advantage of that. And that's
You're not taking advantage of anything.
Yes,
It's
you
not
are.
really-
You want the district to absorb a $500,000 down short?
Yes, I understand that. I understand that. I understand that. First of all, you have many millions in your reserve account. It would not nearly be the burden on the school district that it would be on the library. The library has $1 million budget. You're departing hundreds of thousands of dollars, okay?
You're very misinformed.
I got this.
We have legal
So
counsel.
Rich, I just want to make one point. That's your opinion.
That is my opinion.
And
And it's after the library,
You're not-
it's after the library board trustees came to our meeting and explained their position to.
the instructions were clear. I am running the meeting, not you. So you will stop speaking while Mr. Randazzo speaks. Otherwise, you'll be asking.
You continue to disrespect me. You don't answer my question. I'm coming off. I said, no.
To answer part of your question. So this is your opinion. This room is full of parents who have children in our schools.
I'm sure it's from the library too.
Well, let me just ask you this. Do you know what it means, $537,000 in our budget?
Yeah, I just sat through an audit meeting. I know what it means.
It
I know we have to be reserve accounts too.
It would be cuts to our programs. It would would be increasing class size.
It wouldn't
It would, it absolutely would be. So why don't you?
How much
Why
are
don't
you
you
taking
speak to
from your
the
reserve accounts
constituents
here?
that the Board of Education speaks to, which is our parents and our families?
Yeah. How much are you taking from your reserve?
Besides the
Explain
fact
to
that
take from your
Rich,
reserve account.
Rich, I need you to stop talking for me. We also have advice from 2 separate legal counsels that we have hired to represent us.
Sure. I'm not talking about amending, I'm talking about amending the settlement agreement.
They're not
It
a
can be
party
done.
to the agreement. They decided not to involve themselves in litigation. You were there, I was there. Look at the video.
It cost the
Your
county,
comments
it
alone
cost the county and life
supported
nothing,
exactly what we said
nothing,
before.
to amend the agreement to make a direction for the money to be paid for the library. It cost them nothing. They would gladly amend it if you had.
They would gladly ask us to write a $500,000 check. Correct? If I asked,
No, the settlement is a settlement. If you amend the agreement to provide.
you know what,
necessary
we wrote
language,
this
it
letter,
wouldn't cost
we
them
wrote
a
this
cent.
letter in response to a letter from them threatening litigation. Okay? We put forth our opinion of our legal counsel that we're relying on. This is not something, it's not a personal opinion, it is a legal opinion. Okay? We have not seen anything in response that would authorize us in any way to change our legal opinion. Until then, it's off the table.
For years,
Rich,
years,
your time is
the
up.
library
I
director
will
went to those
respectfully
meetings
ask
and-
you that you continue to follow our rules that we have set for a quarterly meeting.
I think we indulged you.
We
Well,
indulge
no,
everyone
okay,
with the
indulge
same
me,
topic,
indulge me,
and
okay. Thank you.
unfortunately, just because
Well-
you don't like what we have to say, then we had
You're welcome to your opinion, but it doesn't make it a fact, okay?
But people
So
deserve
it
to,
doesn't make,
people deserve to know what you truly think, instead of reading a letter that your lawyers wrote.
No,
Okay, that's
what I
inappropriate.
truly think is that the library's budget last year was $1.5 million,
That's right.
okay? And this year, their budget's gonna be the same, there's no hole.
It's not gonna be the same.
Yes, it is.
It's gonna be,
It
it's
was
gonna
the
be
same,
higher.
they didn't have that money last year. How are they gonna do it, how did they do it out of last year?
Because they,
What are their reserves?
they came to the civic association meeting and told us the things they need to do, okay? Including the HVAC system, many things that they need to do, and they were counting on that money. Unlike you, they talk to us, and they tell us what they need, and we have a dialogue with them. Okay, they did that, right? So I trust what they said to be true. They didn't read me a letter, okay? We had a conversation with them, okay? And they were counting on that money. And the county screwed up, and the county didn't screw up, we have that money, and you're taking advantage of the situation.
You admitted the county screwed up.
That's right. That's right. And you
So the
can,
county
and you
didn't
can fix
fix
it.
it. Why
And
is
you can
it
fix it. And you can fix it to help the library. But you
no,
won't.
we can't fix it.
Yes, you can.
We do not,
You
Rich.
can ask the county, you can ask the county and life to fix it, but you won't.
Wait, so in other words, I'm just trying to ask you a quick question. Okay, so you want us to go to the county and say,
Yes.
the library who did not involve themselves in litigation, who had the chance to, and could have been involved and.
We're not talking about the other
You don't
litigation.
want to answer. You don't want to answer.
You're lying. We're not talking about the third party
Lying.
litigation. We're talking about
Now you're
the
lying.
regular settlement, not the third party litigation. They involved themselves in that. They went to every meeting.
Thanks.
Counsel, you want to say something?
Mr. President, we're at the point now where we need to close down public comment because we got across the line from a public comment into insulting people and calling them liars. That is grossly inappropriate behavior for anybody, no matter who it is. My recommendation is that this part of the agenda.
How about you answer the question, counsel?
Thank you.
Can you answer my question, counsel?
Okay, we've reached the end of the public comment period. Anyone else on this matter? No?
Anyone else like to make a comment?
Hi. How are you? So
Yeah, just so
we
everyone.
would like to
Thank you.
ask a question in terms of the library. You seem fairly confident in position and your decision and that you're correct. That's fine. If you felt that confident, why did you need to put that letter out there on your website to create an uproar?
I'm sorry, you said that why did we put?
Why did you put that letter out on your website to create an uproar in the
We didn't put
community?
it out to create an uproar. We responded to a letter that was
But-
delivered to us,
But
a public letter.
that letter was not made public in the morning. You made it public. You made it public.
We have an obligation when, as you know, as a member of the board, when we receive correspondence, the correspondence is read at the meeting.
It's
Which
read
is-
at a meeting.
Okay, I'm not gonna be able to finish my comments on my own school.
Jack,
It's read at
Jack, don't.
But you know what?
Walk away. I will not argue with you. It's not that important.
the correspondence, were you here at the meeting? The correspondence was read as correspondence,
Yes.
okay? And we put our letter into the record as response to that correspondence, where we could have just read it and not said anything, but instead we clarified our position. I would think that would be good, that's being transparent, no?
Well, I feel that it was wise that there was something that.
Well, we have a strong position regarding the way we feel, and we don't believe that what was being said is true. So we wanted to clarify it and make it clear what the board's position is, what we are trusted with doing. In other words, the budget and educating the children. We're not saying the library doesn't share in some kind of importance in the community. It's just that our legal counsel has told us it's unconstitutional for us to share any of that money, or any other money that we get from tax funds, whether it's from LIPA, whether it's from all the people that sit here. It's unconstitutional for us to do that.
It's my turn.
And that's exactly what that letter says. And nothing that's been said in response changes any of that, because there's no legal opinion that would come forward.
That's not really my question.
Okay, well,
You answered my question.
you said, why did we put it out there? In other words, you know, after being called a liar, now it's to inflame the community. No, it's exactly the opposite. It's to inform the community that here's the situation and here's what the reality is. But why in the world would we want to hurt the library? We didn't hurt the library. We didn't do it to begin with. Maybe they're claiming they're in a bad position right now. It's not our doing.
So my concern is more about the community, not necessarily the school
Okay.
district and the library. It's the divisiveness that occurs in this community. And that is going to cause divisiveness.
Well,
Because the library is not backing down. They definitely had a conversation. They're definitely putting it out to the public. I'll tell you that right now. So you're going to have two factions, two groups, as usual in this community. The school
yeah.
and those that are supporting the
Well,
library.
then who's being divisive?
I feel that that letter being made public was divisive, but you're telling me that it's being.
Well, it's public when they send us correspondence. That gets read in public. It's our duty to read the
Right.
correspondence.
Right.
Any letter, if you sent us a letter, we will read it in public. So should we just read it and not say anything about it?
When I send you a
When
letter.
we actually, Mr. Sherman, you're not speaking right now, please.
I'm
Have
just-
some respect.
All right,
I think
not
it's
on my
fine.
time, guys, not on my
And
time.
read my letters.
Stop. This is my time. Okay,
Rhea.
so in terms of that, I wasn't thinking about it having to be made public. It has to be made.
Well, anyone who's at the meeting can tell you what happened, and that's the way it occurred.
So
You can look at the minutes.
their opinion needs to be out there, and then if you read that, it would be as if.
I don't know if they would have put their opinion out there,
But it
or
has
that
to be.
it was made public. But I really was not thinking in terms of transparency. But I think maybe you can handle it a little better, or you can vote in handling it a little better within the community. It's very important. The library is important to the community as much as the school.
We agree.
Do you think we disagree with that?
These are our neighbors.
Okay, and I'm making a statement, Jack. that
And
I
we
think
can't give them $500,000, it's against the law.
I'm not, Jack, I'm not going there with that. I'm actually saying that I think as a school district, we might want to consider what I'm saying, that it is causing a rift in the community already in the So it might be something to think about and think of how to approach that to make it different, to change the dialogue and the narrative out there. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
Anyone else on the audience that's speaking?
Have a motion to adjourn into executive. Folks, I'm going to just say, we're more than welcome to hear the comments, and there is a process that Ms. McDonough read ad nauseum that you're supposed to sign up beforehand in order to make a comment, but we will entertain anyone's comments right now.
Hi,
Can you just state your name?
Veronica Goldman. I haven't been to a meeting in a while, so I
Welcome.
decided after hearing about budget cuts that I should make my business. And Mark, I have questions. I'm trying to understand. First of all, isn't all, I saw one of the PowerPoint that said school lunches. Aren't all school lunches free?
Recently, we just had a new program. Mr. Rendell, can you speak to that?
Yeah, sure. So we applied, based on the change to the formula, we applied for the community eligibility program back in November, and that was just approved. So now, for the first time, we have free breakfast and free lunch for all students. And we have that in place for the next few years until we have to apply again. The reason why we became eligible for that, Mrs. Dalton, is because the federal government actually reduced the number, the percentage of students that have to qualify. We met that qualification. So for the next couple of years, all students will have free lunch and breakfast.
So is that reflected on that, numbers that you had on that slide, as far as the now?
Yes.
It is.
Yes.
Because I saw, like, I was trying to see it, but it was so
It's very
small.
small.
Yeah, but I couldn't read it. So I was trying to understand what that was. taken into consideration.
Yes, that is required.
Tomorrow morning, you can look at the
Yes.
slides and posted, and you'll be able to get a clearer picture.
I think when you asked the question before, you were looking at the combined wealth ratio, those numbers that were there, which reflects the property values and the income of residents compared to the number of students. And you'll see what Mr. Rendazzo was pointing out is that our numbers are skewed because of the property that's owned by LIPA and valued at, what, 2007?
Yeah.
At 2007 numbers rather than what it's valued at right now.
In other words, what it's actually producing in direct assessment payments, as opposed to what it was valued at as a property back in 2007, 2008. Those numbers are just not the same, right? So in 2007, 2008 as an example, the power plant would have generated almost half of our tax levy, right? About 15.5 million. Next year, based on that settlement agreement, it's only 8.5 million. However, the numbers that the state uses to produce that combined wealth ratio does not factor the current amount. It factors the amount from 2007, 2008. And that's why the numbers are so skewed, and that's why, according to the state, this is a wealthy community. And what I can show you, Mrs. Dalton, is year after year, I'm going up to Albany in a couple of weeks. I had been advocating for that combined wealth ratio to be adjusted.
I was there on Wednesday.
Yeah.
I was there this past Wednesday. I spoke to our senator, I spoke to the education committee chairman, I spoke to Senator Thomas from Baldwin, all about getting a foundation aid back and also adjusting the combined wealth ratio.
But there's just an unwillingness, from our current elected officials to do that, right? And the feeling is that they know that the formula is broken, and it's going to mean that some school districts who are accustomed to getting millions of dollars would suddenly receive a cut, and those that have not been receiving their fair share in aid, like Island Park for many years, would suddenly get that money. And there's just an unwillingness, unfortunately, from our elected officials to do that at this point in time. But we're going to continue to advocate for it. But that is the problem. I think if you speak to anyone, of our elected officials, they will be the first to admit that our formula is broken. But at the same time, they know what that's going to mean to the state of New York. So just right now, they're just unwilling to do it. And it's totally unfair. So that's what we're dealt with right now. That's the problem.
So for me, layman's terms that I'm trying to understand. Governor Hochul is proposing these cuts, but meanwhile, the foundation members are not correct.
Correct. But But that's just not for Island Park, that's probably for every school district across New York State. There are some that are probably getting more money than they deserve, and then there's those that are not getting their fair share, which is us. And they would have to basically come up with a whole new fair and equitable system, and as I said earlier, they're unwilling to do that at this point in time. Obviously, in election years, Mrs. Dalton, they don't want to touch things that will lead to them not getting reelected.
So last week I went to a meeting, and it was Long Beach Board of Education. I wanted to see how the cuts, their plan in dealing with the cuts. Do you have a plan?
Yes.
As far as what is going to be taken off?
Yes, there's not going to be, as I said earlier, I'm sorry if you missed that, and it's going to be on the slide deck. We have no reductions in our programs, and we have no reductions in staffing. In fact, when you come, we have a series of presentations. We're actually going to be looking to add staff for next year. So you can see that in our next presentation, what we're proposing. We're not looking to cut any staff. The way we're down, if you remember back to what Mr. Frankie said, we actually have a total loss of $118,000. What the board has authorized us to do is take additional money from reserves to backfill that hole for now. And if the money comes back in, then we will take that money originally slotted and put it back into our reserve.
That was going to be my next
Yes, but
question.
we're not looking to cut any teaching positions, any staffing positions, and certainly not cutting any of our programs.
Now, are you allowed to use reserve money for this nursing position at all? Because I know for myself, because anyone who knows my son, one of my sons had a history of seizures, and he was in and out of it. So I'm sure there were a lot of other parents who feel, they would feel, you know, that they need that.
So we're currently using a staffing agency, but we are hopeful that we will hire a new nurse very relatively soon.
I'm sure a lot of people know nurses. I know a lot of nurses who've actually said, yeah, there's so many, even in our neighborhood, that said that they would even consider applying. But again, the salary is huge.
You can trust, it's not for lack of trying. And everything is done publicly, so you can see that yourself. Jobs are posted. We can't talk about personnel.
Right.
So,
So I'm not,
yeah.
you know, I'm just saying if there was a way to increase that salary, then maybe you get a better.
No, Mrs. Dolan, yes.
Thank you.
And I do.
We just have to, I'm sorry,
I know, I'm pushing the limits,
one final
but
thing.
what is it that the library needs that they, I mean, physically, I'm not talking about the money, like, are they needing repairs or something like that? Is there something
We
that?
have to check with the library.
Yeah.
One
And
of their
there-
meetings in order to figure out exactly what they need. Specifics we're not privy to.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Thank you for coming.
All right, so we'll move on. I'm going to ask for a motion to go into executive session.
So we'll
What's that?
I have a couple of questions if you don't mind.
Can you speak into the mic?
Sure, anyway. I have a couple of questions. The first question is, who does the parent need to contact?
I'm sorry.
sorry.
Maybe talk.
Doesn't work. Doesn't work. It's not this. I have a silly question. Who does the parent need to contact if they want to make an appointment to speak to somebody on the board?
To speak to someone that's on the board
In reference to, a student.
with reference to what?
A student.
A student.
You would discuss that with the superintendent. You'd make an appointment with
The principal, actually,
First the teacher, then the principal, then the superintendent.
And assuming I'm just going to
We set forward.
go out, and you said a student meaning,
My own
not
student.
somebody.
My own student, I'll tell you right now.
No, that's different. You
My own student.
Mrs. Marsden, I'll give you a call tomorrow.
Now, the question is this.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Marsden, I'll
Sorry.
give you a call on Wednesday. Just want to clarify.
Snow day.
No telephone for the son?
Everyone's off.
Everyone gets a snow day tomorrow.
No virtual.
No, 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 tomorrow. I have a question. Are there any plans to do anything with that part of the auditorium? I'm going to say, as a person who does recollections, that part of the auditorium, it's cold. It's hot. And that bathroom back there, the ladies' bedroom itself is disgusting. Is there, yeah, look at the floor. I've been in it all night. I'm not talking, I'm not talking, look at the floor.
We're gonna take a look into it. Okay, you're saying the temperature and also the latest
It's,
readings.
you know, when you're working in there, you're working 12-hour days, it's cold out there, there's rain, and there's water coming through there. Is there any plans, I'm not saying tomorrow, I'm not saying a year from now, but at least 2 years from now, try to do something with that
You
part.
just brought it to our attention, so we're
Will
gonna.
we ever say anything?
We've had work done there several times in the past
I
couple of
think,
years.
I
So
think what it needs is it needs to be completely refurbished. And, you know, I'll have a house every.
It's definitely outdated, it is that, but it's functional and always
It's not really handicap accessible. So that is why.
Okay, thank you.
so thanks for bringing that to our attention.
I have one question, sorry, I didn't have it earlier, but I have it now.
Okay.
So since it was brought up about the nurse and, you know, paying the nurse, increasing salary, is that something as a district we can do? And is it something that you're actually actively looking into and going to put into the budget for next year to have a salary increase for the nurse?
I'm gonna let Mr. Rendez answer that. He's, as far as administration goes,
So, the nurse's position is part of the teachers association, and we are in current negotiations with the teachers association.
So that's a yes to my question then? Or-
Well, what I'm saying is we're currently in negotiations, so I can't answer for both parties, but we are at the table discussing that matter.
Okay, and you're advocating for the nurse for them to get better pay, right?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Just add one thing, I'm not going forward, really great. I'm a nurse myself, it's not just the salary, I would hope that somebody is looking into why the recent nurse starts and taking that into consideration as well. I think yes, the salary is an important piece, but I think we need to consider we had 2 very good nurses who met that. And so why is that? Maybe we need to look at why they're leaving and address those concerns, and maybe we can, when we get into the bill decision next, we can retain them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thanks. All right, so now I'll ask for motion to move into executive session for discussing legal matters with counsel.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, get home safe.
Enjoy your day tomorrow for staying home and be careful.